27 Best Isekai Anime to Watch If You Love Rising of the Shield Hero. Isekai is among the top anime genres that fans can't seem to get enough of. There are droves of Isekai for all types of fans in subgenres like slice of life or romance. On the horizon is the next season of Rising of the Shield Hero, and though it will debut shortly, there is plenty of anime to binge on until it is released. Isekai anime is in abundance. There are many based on video game worlds, alternative timelines, and even demon dimensions. While a protagonist transported to another world isn't a new concept, it's the characters and development that keep fans watching episode after episode. Here are the best anime to watch for those who loved Rising of the Shield Hero. The Rising of the Shield Hero is one of the most unique takes on Isekai anime, with a vastly different main character from most series. The story of the Rising of the Shield Hero continues to blow fans away, as Nofumi and his loyal companions crusade against the threat of darkness. Nofumi begins to take his position in this new world in stride, and learns to breathe thanks to his friends and new allies. The Rising of the Shield Hero has had 3 successful seasons and retained a solid fanbase that enjoys the characters and Nofumi's adventures. Just recently, Kinemacitress announced the series' 4th season, overjoying fans all around the world. The Isekai genre is a vast library of hundreds of stories, with new releases each anime season, bringing new worlds for viewers to enjoy, exciting and characters to get to know. Nofumi's adventures will continue, but for viewers who are all caught up, there are plenty of other Isekai series to watch and enjoy. Here are more of the best anime to watch if you loved The Rising of the Shield Hero. 27. Deadmount, Deathplay. Seasons 2. During a devastating battle, after being confronted by the world's hero, the necromancer corpse god perishes. Strangely enough, instead of receiving a true death, Corpse God reincarnates into the body of a young boy in the modern-day world. Overwhelmed by his new body, but still retaining all his powers and magical abilities, Corpse tries to assume the young boy's life while he comes to grips with his new position. Chaos ensues, as underground groups seek him out for his supernatural attunement, and things become far more complicated from there. Surprisingly, Corpse makes a number of allies and even learns how to fit into normal society, a stark contrast from being the maniacal evil necromancer of his past life. 26. The Faraway Paladin. Being born into another world can be a precarious situation. Most budding heroes find themselves with a new family in a different time. However, William awakes in the presence of supernatural beings, and while at first sight it may be shocking, the outcome is actually quite wholesome. A ghost, a skeleton, and a mummy decide to adopt William and raise him as their own. As the story progresses, William grows up noble and skilled in magic and swordplay, all thanks to his new family. The character dynamic in this series is very strong, and has a pure fantasy theme as compared to other anime like Frieren or Jobless Reincarnaton. 25. Ishura. Sujiro is thrust into a new world where magic and might play a pivotal role in society. When the Demon King is defeated, there is a race among some of the strongest and most sinister individuals in the land to become the next Demon King and obtain ultimate power. Sujiro, a master swordsman, decides to take the power for himself and cut down anyone who gets in his way. Thus, an impromptu battle royal takes place, and the destruction of the entire world could be just around the corner. Ishura has great animation and breathtaking action scenes, with a splash of comedy throughout the story. 24. How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. Perhaps one of the most unique takes on the Isekai genre, Realist Hero follows Kazuya Suma, an aspiring civil servant who is summoned to a fantasy world to put a stop to the war against the Demon King and save the kingdom. Unfortunately, Kazuya is not suited for fighting or adventuring, so he decides to put his best foot forward and save the kingdom in his own way. Using his administrative skills, Kazuya pulls the kingdom out of financial ruin and makes a few friends along the way. Fans of the style of comedy of Rising of the Shield Hero will enjoy this series. 23. Tsukimiki, Moonlit Fantasy. When he was a child, Makoto's parents made a deal with a powerful goddess to offer their son into her service. Unfortunately, when Makoto came of age and was transported to the alternate world, the goddess was repulsed by his appearance and cast him out. Makoto had to survive on his own as an outcast. Along the way, Makoto became one of the most powerful beings in the world. Forbidden from interacting with the human race, Makoto finds solace and kinship among the demi-humans of the fantasy world and goes on adventures with his newfound family. 22. Uncle from Another World. Takafumi receives a call that, after nearly 20 years, his uncle has finally woken up from a coma. After arriving at the hospital, Takafumi is beside himself as his uncle rambles on about a magical world and wielding magic. To Takumi's surprise, his uncle is telling the truth and possesses powerful magic and abilities he learned while living in the other world. Both men, being very eccentric, decide there is only a single course of action to take: make an online influencer account for money. Takafumi's uncle tells him stories of his adventures in the other world to pass the time, and he quickly realizes that life in a fantasy world isn't as glamorous as it sounds. 21. How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. How Not to Summon a Demon Lord is a wacky and fun adventure that puts a spin on the Isekai genre in the best way. A young man deep in the realm of being a NEET is summoned into a magical fantasy world by two attractive young adventurers. The upside of being ripped from his own life is that the young man has been gifted the appearance and powers of his favorite video game character. Having nearly unrivaled magical power and dubbing himself the Demon Lord Diablo, the young man joins the girl on their adventures. 20. I got a cheat skill in another world and became unrivaled in the real world too. Yuya Tenji suffered greatly in his life, being the focus of disdain and resentment from everyone he met, even his family. Just as Yuya thought things couldn't get worse, the only person to show him any amount of kindness passes away. Yuya begins to falter until he discovers a secret passage to another world where he takes hold of a great power. Yuya can transport freely between both worlds but keeps all the power and strength he gains, giving him a new outlook on life. 19. My Next Life as a Villainess. All routes lead to doom. After passing away, a young girl is reincarnated into one of her favorite video games. Unfortunately, the young girl becomes born into one of the main villains of the story, Katarina Klaz. To make matters worse, Katarina's storyline is a dismal ball that spells ruin for her at every turn. With determination, she decides to attempt to rewrite her story and save her second chance at life, which proves difficult as the game fights back against her rebellion. My Next Life as the Villainess is a fun and enchanting watch that fans should give a chance. 18. No Game No Life. No Game No Life is an interesting and unique take on the Isekai genre. The story follows two step-siblings, Sora and Shiro, whose lives revolve around being the best at online games. The story ramps up when they're challenged by the god of games himself, Tet. In a separate realm, gods leave the fate of humanity up to chance in a series of games as they rule over their kingdom. Shiro and Sora attempt to dethrone the deity and become rulers themselves. No Game No Life has stunning visuals and a very engaging story that any Isekai fan will enjoy. 17. Sword Art Online. Sword Art Online is the staple and blueprint Isekai that has been a dominant series for over a decade. The main protagonist, Kirito, is one of the most popular in the genre. The story follows Kirito after he is trapped inside a new hyper-realistic VMO along with 50,000 players who must all fight for their lives because of the stipulation that if someone dies in the game, they die in real life. Sword Art Online is filled with spectacular fights and dramatic moments as Kirito journeys through the video game world, losing comrades, fighting bosses, and gaining a partner. Sword Art Online has several iterations and crosses over into 4 different game worlds, making it one of the best series to binge on before Rising of the Shield Hero is released. 16. Grimgar. Grimgar is a short and special series that focuses more on the challenges faced when teleported to another world. Grimgar follows a small group of oddballs that form a makeshift party in an attempt to survive the fantasy world they've been transported to. None of them are especially skilled or gifted and have the hardest time taking on the weakest of monsters. Grimgar goes for a hyper-realistic adventure that places the party of adventurers against true danger and certain death if they are not absolutely careful. 15. Gate. Gate is another unique take on the Isekai genre. The story tweaks the teleported to another world trope by having the other world attack first. Yoji Itami is the main character and a soldier in Japan's defense forces. He is charged as an investigator after a portal opens up in the middle of Japan and an army of medieval warriors attack. Itami travels to the other world on a peace-finding mission. In the process, he saves the kingdom being attacked by a dragon and, in turn, is well received by the kingdom and its royalty. The story follows as Itami, and his new, somewhat harem-like comrades set out to bring a partnership between the two realms before a vicious war breaks out on both sides. 14. Jobless Reincarnation. Jobless Reincarnation follows Rudeus, a middle-aged NEET who has no meaning in his life whatsoever. This changes when he gives his life to protect someone else and finds himself reborn in the body of a newborn in a new world but retaining all his memories. In this new world, magic is common, and swordplay is a necessity. With the mind of a grown adult, Rudeus excels at learning new skills. As a result, Rudeus thrives for the first time in his life and begins to recover and overcome his past trauma. He finds new friends, new aspirations in life, and even the possibility of love. Jobless Reincarnation scratches all the right spots that fans of Isekai will enjoy and find refreshing. 13. Overlord. Overlord is an anime that starts with the leader of a guild in an MMO computer game that awakens in a fantasy world as the class and race he picked in the game. Suzuki Satoru has no memory of how he came to be in this new world but possesses all the skills and strengths of his character, making him the most powerful being in the realm. The story follows Satoru as he falls deeper into the mindset of his character, becoming ambitious and calculating, plotting to take over the new world with the help of his guild's NPCs. Satoru takes the moniker of Ain't So Old Gown, completely leaving the life he once knew behind and reveling in his power as the Lord of Nazarisk. 12. Log Horizon. Log Horizon follows a similar theme compared to Sword Art Online. Hardcore strategist Shiro is trapped in a new MMO game with thousands of other players with no sign of freedom in sight. He and his best friend take on the challenges of adapting to the world and dealing with the NPCs and the call to adventure while also trying not to die in the process. Shiro excels at using his mind to figure things out. In no time, he handles every encounter with poise, similar to Lelouch from Code Geass. 11. Bofuri. I don't want to get hurt so I'll max out my defense. Bofuri, or I don't want to get hurt so I'll max out my defense, is a fun Isekai anime that follows Kida Honju, a young girl who is roped into trying out the newest MMO by her best friend. Kida adopts the name Maple for her character and sets out on a journey knowing nothing about gaming or MMOs. Kida maps all her stat points into vitality with the simple goal of not wanting to get hurt. This sends her on a wave of accomplishments that lands her as a server-wide famous player who supposedly can't be defeated. Kida learns many things and accomplishes wonders while just doing the best she can. 10. Isekai Quartet. Isekai Quartet is a side-splitting, hilarious anime take on the genre, mixing it with slice-of-life elements. The anime takes some of the most well-known protagonists of the top Isekai anime and brings them together after being tempted to push a big red button. Now stuck in a modern-day world, all the characters must live their day-to-day lives as high school students while interacting with each other. Ainzol Gown from Overlord, Tanya de Gurachav from Tanya the Evil, and Kazuma from Konosuba all make an appearance in this hilarious parody of one of the most popular anime tropes. 9. That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime is one of the most popular isekai anime as of late. The story follows a middle-aged corporate worker, Satoru, who lives a completely mundane life. An unfortunate turn of events has him assaulted and killed. Instead of moving on, he wakes up in the form of a shapeless collection of goop. While trying to figure things out, he befriends a dragon that blesses him with great power and a new name, Rimuru Tempest. This starts him on an amazing journey that takes him to all kinds of destinations and allows him to get the hang of his newfound power. 8. ReZero. Starting life in another world. ReZero follows Subaru, a flustered teen who finds himself returning home from a convenience store with a bag of groceries one moment, and then being beaten by robbers in a new world the next. Subaru has no idea why he was summoned to another world, and the only friend he seems to find is Satella. Unfortunately, a dark fate awaits Subaru as he makes his way through this new world. Tragedy seems to engulf Subaru's new life as he endures countless hardships and betrayals around every corner. Even death cannot free Subaru of his suffering as he returns to life at the point of his summoning every time he perishes. ReZero is a unique take on the isekai main character type by throwing them into a world where they are borderline powerless. 7. The Saga of Tanya the Evil. A strange scenario in the isekai genre. The Saga of Tanya the Evil is about a man who is reincarnated into a little girl's body and becomes the leader of an army in a world war. Secretly, Tanya is using the war as a way to combat a supernatural god in a game of intellectual chess. The series follows Tanya as she carves a bloody path to her goal, gaining a reputation as a ruthless and inhumane soldier who crosses every line in front of her. Acquiring the nickname the Devil of Rhine, Tanya is feared as a tactical genius and a brilliant fighter and leads her forces to victory, which indirectly raises the empire she fights for to the most powerful in the country and closer to world peace. 6. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Bell has never been the best fighter, and his life has been at a constant standstill in a world dominated by the profession of being an adventurer. This changes when Bell finds his determination and the women in his life do their best to help him gain strength. But secretly, the protagonist holds a great power within himself that has garnered the attention of powerful allies and enemies. Bell must navigate his way through godly politics, bloodthirsty behemoths, and rival guilds in order to make a living and protect the friends he holds dear. 5. Fate/Grand Order. Absolute Demon Front Babylonia. The Fate series is famous for its exciting story and breathtaking animation. Absolute Demon Front Babylonia is a different take on the franchise that steps away from the routine Grail War occurrences and main cast, similar to Fate/Apocrypha. Fujimayu and Mash, members of a secret organization of mages, are sent back in time to repair singularities caused by the great King Solomon who seeks to wipe out the human race. Along the way, Mash and Fujimayu encountered the real-life versions of the heroes that have competed in the Holy Grail Wars and hope to sway them to take on King Solomon and save the world. 4. Skeleton Knight in Another World. Skeleton Knight in Another World is a fun and endearing tale following an undead knight named Ark as he explores a magical fantasy world with his companions. Behind the scenes, Ark is a young man from modern-day Japan who fell asleep while playing his favorite game and found himself in this new medieval fantasy world when he awoke. To Ark's surprise, he has retained all the powers of his favorite character, even the undead traits he picked during character creation. Ark is soon dragged into the messes of this new world after meeting a powerful female elf who is on a mission to liberate her kind from slavery. With little else to do, Ark accompanies the young elf and decides to see what this new world has to offer. 3. Working for God in a Godless World. The spring 2023 anime season brought a massive amount of amazing series for fans to watch. one of them being working for God in a godless world. The story kicks off with Yukito being offered up as a sacrifice by his father and the rest of the village he's lived in all his life. In his final moments, Yukito prays that he awakes in a new world where he can live peacefully. Unfortunately, fate has bigger plans for Yukito, as the world he gets reincarnated into is unlike anything he's ever seen. Yukito soon comes to understand that the god Mitama has some devious plans, and Yukito is the key to them all. 2. Arifureta, from commonplace to world's strongest. When an entire class of high school students is teleported to a fantasy world, they all land in a position to make a difference by learning special abilities or acquiring great strength to be heroes in their new lives. Unfortunately, Hajime is not gifted with any sort of useful ability and drags his fellow classmates down more than anything else. While on a mission, things go astray, and Hajime is betrayed by one of his classmates and falls to the very bottom of a dungeon where he must do everything he can to survive. While carving away to the surface, he befriends a 3,000-year-old vampire, and the two make a promise to make it out of the dungeon and go home. 1. The Eminence in Shadow. The Eminence in Shadow follows the story of Sid Kajinu, a recluse who reincarnates into a fantasy world and seeks to live a life of obscurity, but unwittingly becomes a legendary figure known as the Eminence in Shadow, feared by evil organizations and admired by the masses. On the surface, Sid lives like a regular citizen after being born into another world where might and magic rule the world. However, Sid is a disturbed individual and secretly plots to conquer this new world from the shadows using the powerful new abilities he's learned alongside his order of warriors called the Shadow Garden. Sid wipes out all his opposition in conquest after conquest, wielding the unique slime powers that make him near invulnerable and can shape itself into any weapon he needs. Hello. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future content, comment and let me know. I know many are not comfortable with AI art, but I am saving to gather supplies to delve into other art styles. It will take time, but I am hoping to get into resin, woodworking, and metalworking. All I ask, please enjoy my videos.